Bombshell. New report shows Guccifer 2.0 DNC files were copied locally, not hacked. A mysterious IT specialist who goes by the name of Werecopied published a detailed report that appears to disprove the theory that the DNC was hacked by Russia. The documents were copied on July 5th, 5 days before Seth Rich was murdered. The Werecopied summarized the complex report into 10 bullet points, the report as laid out by the Werecopied. Based on the analysis that is detailed below, the following key findings are presented. On July 5th, 2016, at approximately 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time, someone copied the data that eventually appears on the NGP van 7-zip file, the subject of this analysis. The 7-zip file was published by a person named Guccifer 2 months later on September 13, 2016. Due to the estimated speed of transfer, 23 megabytes, I would assume, calculated in this study, it is unlikely that this initial data transfer could have been done remotely over the internet. The initial copying activity was likely done from a computer system that had direct access to the data. By direct access, we mean that the individual who was collecting the data either had physical access to the computer where the data was stored, or the data was copied over a local high-speed network, LAN. They may have copied a much larger collection of data than the data present in the NGP van 7-zip. This larger collection of data may have been as large as 19 gigabytes. In that scenario, the NGP van 7-zip file represents only 1/10 of the total amount of material taken. This initial copy activity was done on a system where Eastern Daylight Time EDT settings were in force. Most likely the computer used the initial copy. The data was located somewhere on the East Coast. The data was likely initially copied to a computer running Linux, because the file last modified times all reflects the apparent time of the copy, and this is characteristic of the Linux CP command using default options. So I guess this goes on to the computer analysis, which I really don't understand, you know. You can read that, I'll go slowly, but let's get to the gist of this so I can make sense of the story. The most important aspect about the report is the estimated speed of transfer at which the documents were copied. It's inconceivable DNC documents could have been copied at such speed from a remote location. Disobedient media reports. Importantly, the Werecopied concluded that the chance that the files had been accessed and downloaded remotely over the internet were too small to give this idea any serious consideration. He explained that the calculated transfer speeds for the initial copy were much faster than can be supported by an internet connection. This is extremely significant and completely discredits allegations of Russian hacking made by both Guccifer 2.0 and CrowdStrike. This conclusion is further supported by analysis of the overall transfer rate of 23 megabytes, I would assume. The Werecopied described this as possible when copying over a LAN, but too fast to support the hypothetical scenario that the alleged DNC data was initially copied over the internet, especially to Romania. Guccifer 2.0 had claimed to originate in Romania. So, in other words, this rate indicates that the data was downloaded locally, possibly using the local DNC network. The importance of this finding in regards to destroying the Russian hacking narrative cannot be understated. If the data is correct, then the files could not have been copied over a remote connection, and so therefore cannot have been hacked by Russia. The use of a USB drive would also strongly suggest that the person copying the files had physical access to a computer, most likely connected to the local DNC network. Indications that the individual used a USB drive to access the information over an internal connection with timestamps placing the creation of the copies in the East Coast time zone suggest that the individual responsible for initially copying what was eventually published by the Guccifer 2.0 persona under the title NGP Van was located in the eastern United States, not Russia. During the presidential campaign, Politico reported that what now appears to be a disproven story about Guccifer 2.0 hacking and releasing DNC documents. The hacker persona, Guccifer 2.0, has released a new trove of documents that allegedly reveal more information about the Democratic National Committee's finances and personal information on Democratic donors, as well as details about the DNC's network infrastructure. The cache also includes purported memos on tech initiatives from Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Kaine's time as governor of Virginia and some years-old missives on redistricting efforts and the DNC donor outreach strategy. DNC interim chair Donna Brazile immediately tied the leak to GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump. There's one person who stands to benefit from these criminal acts, and that's not Donald Trump, she said, in a statement Tuesday night, adding that Trump has embraced, quote, Russian President Vladimir Putin and publicly encouraged further Russian espionage to help his campaign. Actually, this was all to help Hillary Clinton. Politico then suggests Guccifer 2.0 hacked into the DNC. If authentic, the documents would represent the latest strike from the mysterious hacker persona that has already roiled the 2016 election with leaks of documents stolen from the DNC and the House Democrats' campaign arm, the DCCC. Earlier document dumps include the internal communications that forced the resignation of former DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz this summer and fueled allegations of party bias against Bernie Sanders. The bombshell report brings murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich back into focus, who many believe may have been the WikiLeaks source for the DNC emails. WND reports. Private investigators have claimed there is evidence Rich was the source WikiLeaks used to obtain thousands of DNC emails released on the eve of the party's presidential nominating convention last July. The emails indicating the party was manipulating the primary race in favor of Hillary Clinton led to the resignation of former DNC chairwoman Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz on July 22nd, just 12 days after Rich's death and days before the Democratic Party convention in Philadelphia. WikiLeaks released 20,000 DNC emails. Also, as WND has reported, a former detective Rod Wheeler was initially hired by Rich's parents through a third party to find their son's killer. Wheeler alleges former interim DNC chairwoman Donna Brazil contacted the Metropolitan Police Department demanding to know why he was snooping, quote, after Wheeler began investigating Rich's murder. As a result, he said, law enforcement authorities are now refusing to provide him with more details about the case. The Gateway Pundit will update the story at hand as more information comes to light. As we have reported copious times, the Russian hacking story was never on solid footing, and the report above appears to demonstrate just that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really that at all technical, but from what I gather here, this was all planned through Hillary Clinton, and they found that this cannot be linked to Russia. It was linked to the United States, in other words, the East Coast. So this is more information that totally shows how corrupt the DNC actually is, and this would help Hillary Clinton by forming this Russia narrative. And I wouldn't put anything past the DNC and Hillary Clinton at this point. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.